All right, let's do it. I'm excited, Joshy. These workouts they've been kicking my ass.
This one after doing.
Oops.
Hey everyone, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Get Super with me, Joshy G. I'm gonna give myself an applause. Yes, and today we have one and only, the very talented and super fan of many things, which we'll go over in a minute, Mr. Matt Cardona. Matt, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm just hanging out. Glad to be on the show. Get a little workout in. Right, I haven't worked out today, so this is gonna be my workout for the day. That's pretty much it.
Big CrossFit fan, if you don't know Matt. Is huge, and no, I'm just kidding. Not a big CrossFit fan, but that's okay because today's workout is going to be pretty tough, seeing how I am super sore from Murph yesterday. But we don't need to talk about me. We'll get to Matt in a moment. We also have Paul joining us as well. Paul is moderating. Paul,
Hey.
How are you, my friend?
Doing well. Ready to put my body through another workout.
Well, that's good. So if you guys have any questions about the workout or any questions for Matt or myself, go ahead and send them to Paul on all the social media channels. That's right. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, we're on it. And send those questions our way and we'll answer them in just a moment. And again, for those watching, we will be giving away a Jon Snow 6 scale by 3-0. And like always, Paul will drop the link to that contest a little bit later. I have a secret code that I will give away. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, Matt, but I will give out a secret code. And if you're watching and you enter that secret code into the Gleam contest, you get 1,000 entries. And look at that.
I like that.
You get a free 6 scale. Well, you could have a chance to win a free 6 scale just by hanging out with us, asking some questions, and doing a workout. I mean, look at
Great little deal.
It's the show that keeps on giving. All right, let's go right into you, my friend. First and foremost, welcome. You're looking swoller than ever. How are things with you?
Things are great. The past couple months have been a little crazy for everybody, you know. So I've been stuck doing backyard workouts. So I built a little gym in my backyard. I got some dumbbells over here, a pull-up like tower thing over there, a lot of cables, but I'm making it work. And in Florida, the gym's just finally opened up. So I'm going to be bouncing back between the real gym and my backyard gym.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, I know that you are a big fan of all things pop culture. We've hung out times and had some really fun and interesting conversations, everything from theme parks to Monster Squad to Ghostbusters to Star Wars. What would you say is possibly, you don't have to name them in order, but what are some of your top fandoms that you love and enjoy the most?
I would have to say Ghostbusters, Star Wars, Ninja Turtles, and then I count WWE in there, like classic wrestling, classic WWE. Yeah, put that in there.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Matt has a really, really cool podcast, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, which you download everywhere. And he has such an intense knowledge of all things wrestling figures. I watched the Toys That Made Us, and it was okay. But I think that show should have been all you, because even sitting backstage at some of the events and just talking to you about the progression of wrestling figures and even watching it on your Instagram page, like you have an insane knowledge when it comes to these things. Where did that all start?
Well, I mean, people call me the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting.
Oh, that's great. I forgot about that.
So, as a kid, you know, I played with the wrestling figures, you know, then wrestling wasn't really that cool when I was a kid. Like when I was a little kid, everyone liked Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man. And then everyone grew out of it except for me. So the figures were my friends, really. That's how I was keeping up with wrestling, is by, you know, having these little figure federations on my floor and these storylines with these figures, because my friends, they didn't like wrestling anymore. And I just never grew out of it. And then as an adult, and I use that term loosely because I feel like I'm a big kid, I stopped playing with the figures and collecting them and displaying them and being a psycho about getting, you know, I don't try to get every single one, but I get a lot of different types, because there's so many different companies. I mean, you know, from like LJN in the 80s to now Mattel, there's so many different companies. So it's impossible to get every single one, but I do my best to get the best ones.
Now, what are your top, again, they don't have to be in an order, but what are your top 3 wrestling figures of all time?
I would have to say they're all, this is completely nerdy, but they're unreleased. There is a green trunks Macho Man. So Macho Man in these like essentially green underwear. The
orange one, right? It was like the first one.
Right, exactly. The Hasbro one is an orange. So this one is green. It was supposed to come in some JCPenney ring. It's in the Christmas catalog. But then when you buy the ring, you just get the same old orange Macho Man. But I have the figure that's from that ad, the hand-painted figure. Yeah, so I have a couple other ones like this Rhythm and Blues Greg the Hammer Valentine that's in a Toys R Us ad, never released. This guy Tugboat, never released. So it's cool to have things that, you know, were just rumor for so many years. Of just you find the artwork online of the sketch, and now I actually have.
I'll tell you, for those of you that know, my figure that I would say is my holy grail, and you and I have talked about this, is there's an ad where it's like the Undertaker, he's above all of the Hasbro figures, and it's a Shawn Michaels with a different arm.
Yes.
What series that was, but that's the one that I know I wanted. And I remember going to a store, and instead of getting the one that was displayed in that ad, it was a completely different Shawn Michaels.
Right, he's supposed to do like a little punch like that, but I haven't seen that prototype anywhere. I've been looking, trust me, but I feel like it's got to be out there. But most of those prototypes, nobody thought at that time like, ooh, these are going to be worth thousands of dollars in 30 years. So they were meant to be like destroyed. So most of them were, or you know, just thrown out.
Yeah. Now we've kind of gone over the wrestling. I know you're a big Star Wars fan. Did you recently went back and got a bunch of the old Star Wars figures? Am I right?
Yeah. So I you know, didn't grow up with the original Star Wars. I was too young, you know. So I got into it when it was the special editions in theater. So that was how that's how I found out about Star Wars. Like I'd known about it and heard about it, but the brand was kind of dead by like 93, 94. Like there was nothing. There was no, like, you go to Target or Walmart now, there's tons of toys, tons of shirts, tons of merch. It wasn't like that in the early 90s until those you know, those special editions. And then, you know, I got all those toys. And then I went back and rebought those. And then, like a real psycho, I went back and got the ones from the 70s and 80s that I wasn't even old enough to even have. I went and got those too.
And how many people, like, what is the collection that people are interested in the most? Is it the Star Wars? Is it the Turtles? Is it the wrestling? Is it the Ghostbusters? I mean, you have almost every collection that a young, you know, 8 to 10-year-old Josh would have dreamed of having, and you actually have.
Yeah, it's funny you say like 8 to 10-year-old, because like when I go in my toy room, it feels like I'm you know, in that DeLorean and Back to the Future, going back in time, and I feel like I'm a kid again, because you turn one way, you see Star Wars, turn the other way, you see Ghostbusters, or you know, the wrestling, or even the Funko Pops that you know, they do everything. They cover so many different genres and brands. So there's just, my whole childhood is in this one room.
And are there other things? I mean, I see the ET behind you. Are there other things besides action figures that you collect? You know, whether they be, you know, premium format figures, statues, 6-scale figures, prop replicas.
I do have a Han Solo in carbonite.
Oh.
As soon as you walk into my house, it's just staring at you.
That's the Sideshow one, right?
That's right. My fiance is not super happy about it, but I love it. It's art. To me, that's not a toy. That's not a collectible. That's art. Han Solo's art.
Are there any other things that you have besides the Han Solo and carbonite and the ET?
I'm looking around I use the term loosely, office. I got this, I don't know, the little life-size Leonardo.
Oh, great.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I got a bunch of weird stuff like that. I have a proton pack that, you know, it doesn't really bust ghosts, but it lights up, and it even plays like the music. If you're at like a birthday party or something, you just press a button and the music plays.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah,
Some ridiculous stuff like that.
I was gifted a proton pack, and clearly it's not as cool as that. But yeah, it is fun to relive your childhood. When you were growing up, whether it be an 8, 10, 12, 14, 16-year-old Matt, what was your favorite figure? Like, what was the one that you held on to? Obviously, you have figures that, you know, are your favorite as far as like the unreleased and stuff. But like, what was your, like, if you had to pick your all-time favorite toy? And maybe it doesn't have to be your all-time, but one of your favorite toys where you just remember, like, man, I remember getting this on Christmas and I was super stoked, or man, I remember getting this on a birthday and I was super pumped. Like, do you have a?
I think, you know, as a kid, I played with the Ghostbusters for a certain time and the Turtles, but the wrestling is something I just never grew out of. And like I said, like when my friends grew out of it and I didn't, that's when I got the most invested in it. And, you know, and I'd book these storylines and have these pay-per-views, and, you know, I'd have like, you know, reenact like Monday Night Raw and pay-per-views with these figures. I created this own like fantasy figure federation. So just like any figure from the wrestling era, from that like mid to late 90s era, But one that definitely sticks out for sure is it's like a Razor Ramon. It's like the bone crushing action Razor Ramon.
The Jax ones?
Right. Yeah. When those came out in '96, like the quality control like really sucked, and they were garbage. Like their limbs were like Woody from Toy Story, all loose and stuff like that. So I'm like, you know what? These suck. I'm returning them. And then the second set came out. I was like, oh man, I gotta get them back. And I tried to rebuy everything, but I could never find that Razor Ramon again. Like I had returned, and he was like off the shelves. He had gone to WCW.
Was that the purple one?
Purple one.
Yeah.
So like I just got back in like a month or two too late, and he was already gone. And this is, 96, 97. I didn't have the internet yet, I'm sure, so I couldn't just order it from like Ringside Collectibles. It was like, so I just didn't have it for so many years. And then I remember in 8th grade, I did a little trade with this kid, Peter Cody. I traded him an extra, who was it? LOD, Legion of Doom, and Headbangers for the Razor Ramon.
Oh, that
four figures down the lunchroom. Oh, it's Razor and Diesel. Razor and Diesel for so 4 for 2. Good little deal.
Yeah, I remember those figures coming out because just like you, and I'm sure most kids who follow professional wrestling, I did the same thing. I had little figure federations. I would try my best to incorporate like the weird WCW, what was it, Galoob?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Barely moved, if at all. I try to incorporate them, and then sometimes like I would try to let my imagination run wild, and I would pick like different pop, because I was also a huge comic book fan, so I would get like, the X-Men or the Marvel characters and include them in there. But when Jax released those, they were obviously a little bit taller than the Hasbro ones, so it was like, oh man, I got to start all over from scratch.
Right. It's tough to rebuild a whole roster. It's tough.
Yeah, exactly. Now, obviously, big pro wrestling fan. You love Ninja Turtles. You love Ghostbusters and a wide variety, Star Wars. You also love theme parks.
Right.
What is your favorite theme park?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think my favorite one-day park, like you only have one day and you're not going to any of the parks, is Disneyland.
That's right. Don't forget it.
I'm talking one day. If you were going to go for a whole week, I would not choose Disneyland.
Okay.
I don't think there's enough stuff.
Okay.
For one day, morning to night, Disneyland. I don't think there's a better park on the planet. Now, I haven't been to certain overseas parks, but definitely domestically, that's my favorite.
Now, when you go to these parks, are you so, and I use this term loosely, psychotic in the sense that you map out your route? I know you're very busy with being a pro wrestler, and sometimes you don't have all the time in the world. So do you map out like, hey, I only got 4 hours. I got to map out what I want to see at Disneyland, Disney World, Universal, whatever? Or are you just like, I'm just going to fly off the seat of my pants and try to get as much stuff in as possible?
Yeah. So I definitely used to map everything out. And if I go to like Disneyland, I'll map it out. But I live in Orlando. So for the parks here, it's like, oh, if I don't do Space Mountain this time, I'll do it next time. So it's much more relaxed. But I definitely was a psycho about it. And it wasn't until I moved here that I lightened up a little bit. Like I would hate to like sit down, like, and like have like a soda or a beer. Like I want to be running from attraction to attraction. But now I could chill, grab a little cocktail, go on some rides. It's fun. I love it.
Now, does your fiance have the same love? Maybe not the same love for action figures and toys, but does she have the same love for the theme parks as you do?
She has a love for theme parks, not the same love.
Ah.
Okay? So when we first met, I was told that she was a big Disney fan, and I guess she is. But then, like, she met me, so I don't even think I'm that crazy about. Like, I'm a pretty big Disney fan, but there are people like above me, So she makes me seem like I'm insane when it comes to the parks and how many times I want to go. I'd like to go like maybe once every 2 weeks or so. That's not that big of a deal. We live here.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are people in California that are a part of Disneyland gangs, and when I say gangs, I mean they're fun gangs. But like, there's a whole subculture that I didn't even realize existed until someone smartened me up and said, hey, there's you see these people walking around with the same kind of like Sons of Anarchy motorcycle jackets, and I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, those are the Grim Reapers from the Grim Reapers Ghouls or the 99 Haunts, and I'm like, is that a real gang? They're like, no, it's a Disneyland gang. Like it's super fun. How does one get into a Disneyland gang? And if so, how
That's my first time hearing about it. Seems pretty cool though.
Oh yeah, what would be your gang name if you had to?
Maybe some sort of like they don't have it in Disneyland anymore, but the Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, maybe that some gang like that. I don't know, like the Terror Squad. I don't know.
I guarantee you, And Paul, maybe you could look it up. I guarantee you there is a Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, some sort of Disney. I almost 1,000% positive. Did you like the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, by the way?
I do like it. When I first heard that they were replacing Tower of Terror with the Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, come on. But I think the Guardians of the Galaxy ride is very fun. It's for everybody. It has a lot more re-rideability, if that makes sense. And I don't think the Disneyland Tower of Terror was ever as good as the Disney World one anyway, but you don't know this because you've never been.
I know. We've talked about this before, but for those of you that don't know, I've never been to Disney World, being such a Disney fanatic, and I think that's just because
you're in Orlando all the time.
I wouldn't say all the time, but I've been there a couple of times. But yes, maybe I needed the tutelage of one, Matt Cardona to show me the ropes. Maybe you're the Obi-Wan to my Luke Skywalker. I don't know what I'm getting myself into when I go to Disney World. I would just try to. I'll be like, oh. See, that would be my thing. I'd be so cynical. I'd be like, oh, this is just like a bootleg version of Disneyland, But I don't think
you might feel that way. But there are certain things that are done differently in a good way and in a bad way. And both coasts have parks that the other both coasts have rides that the other parks don't have.
Yeah.
So like you guys have the Indiana Jones ride, which we don't have, but we have the Avatar, a lot of stuff that you guys don't have. So
yeah. I was talking to my girlfriend. She's been a bunch of times, and she likes the Yeti ride. I don't know what's the name of it. It's
Everest.
Yeah, Everest. She was telling me about that, and then being such a theme park nerd, looking it up and realizing like, oh, the animatronic doesn't work anymore, and they try to do. Yeah, it's fun to research these rides and figure out like why certain things didn't work and how they try to fix things, and I mean that's a whole other. Discussion in itself, but yeah, there are rides there that look really, really, really fun, and I definitely want to check out. It
just blows my mind that you're a Disney theme park guy and you've never been to like Pandora, the world of Avatar. I cannot believe that.
I think that's just me being like, I'm just gonna stick with Disneyland, and I like Disneyland, and that's it. Maybe that's just the grumpy old man in me. I have no idea. There's no rhyme or reason. I have no explanation. So theme parks. Now Universal, I see the ET. We already talked about that earlier. Huge ET fan, correct?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, who didn't love ET? And I love, obviously, I love a lot of like things from my childhood. So it's cool to me that the ET ride at Universal is still there. It's still kicking, and it reminds me of going all those times, as a kid. Because when I went to the parks, we went like every couple of years. So the anticipation in between trips is what really drove my love and fascination, because I'd be reading up, whether it be magazines or eventually when getting the internet, reading up on new rides and stuff like that. So to go back and to actually go on an old ride that was there when I was a kid, because in Disney there's a lot of that, but in Universal it's just ET. Everything else is gone.
So obviously we, Sideshow being a collectibles company, we talked a little bit about your love for Star Wars and stuff like that. There are things superhero related that you like? Marvel, DC, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man. Are there certain superheroes you like, or is that a genre that you just didn't touch as a kid?
It's a genre I just don't touch when it comes to collecting, because there's just so much of it.
Yeah.
So like when the Marvel movies come out, I'll see it. I had comic books growing up, but there's just too much. I don't even know where to start. And I have like something wrong with my brain where not that I need to get everything, but there was just, where do I stop? Where do I draw the line? So even for my wrestling figures, like I have certain rules, they might not make sense to you, but in my psycho head, they make sense to me. So like, for instance, I don't get wrestlers who debuted in WWE after 2007. That's when I debuted on TV. So for instance, like Rollins, great guy. I won't get his figure. but okay, so Undertaker, if Undertaker's in WrestleMania this year and they make a 2020 Undertaker, I won't get that. But if it's a throwback, like 2000 Undertaker, then I gotta get it.
Yeah.
2007 is my cutoff. So like that's my mental note. Like that's how I can judge what I have to get and what I don't have to get.
So if there is a figure that is yours that debuts after 2007,
of course, I'm the exception. I get all of me.
What about Brian, your former tag team partner? Or would you not?
He's a little exception too, but I don't get all his.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
There's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, like anybody on the roster currently or since 2008 on, I don't have you. Because then I would never stop. And it would just be out of control.
I get it. I mean, look, there are collectors out there watching, whether they be Star Wars fanatics, wrestling fanatics, superhero fanatics. I'm sure they all have their long laundry list of do's and don'ts. I remember as a kid, you know, collecting stuff, I would get two of them, two of each, one to open, one to display, you know?
Right.
And now I'm sitting in my mom's home, my mom and dad's home, and there's boxes and boxes of unopened toys in my garage. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these things, you know?
I wonder what you got in there. You might have some high priced items.
Hey, I'll show them to you. A lot of Jack's wrestling figures still in the box.
Then you have nothing. Then those figures are worthless. I feel like even with like all the Star Wars figures from the 90s and like you know, Phantom Menace, all those figures, like they're worth nothing, because I feel like when the figures were out in the 70s and 80s, nobody thought to keep them in the box. So when people did, that's what made them valuable, you know?
Yeah.
And then everyone, like, they hoarded these when they came out, and there's just too many. They were mass produced, and B, too many people were keeping them in the box. I think there's probably more out there on planet Earth in the box than out of the box.
Oh, that's a good call. I mean, my brother and his niece, they make fun of me because I have all the things still in the box. They like come over and they see stuff and like, oh, can I play that? I'm like, no, leave it in the box, because I don't know why. Maybe that's my rule. Maybe I should just loosen up and let them open it up, because you're right. Like, there are so many things mass produced that, you know, it takes the fun out of it. And going back to what you were saying earlier, reliving your childhood and having a little bit of fun, like, yeah, it's fun to open up. I know there's a ton of things that are being re-released, whether it be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Playmates, action figures. They re-released them in some sort of fashion and kind of updated them. Same with the Ghostbusters. And even before Mattel, I think, canceled the line, but the Legends line, where they made them look like the old, you know,
the retro line, yeah.
those were
dead. They're on ice, whatever that means.
Well, but yeah, those are fun to like open and kind of play with and you know, have them displayed outside of the box.
On the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, we say, let them breathe. You know, just open those babies up, let them breathe.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. You know, same goes for those people that collect the 6 scales and keep them in the box. Like, let them out. Like, display them, put them in cool poses. Like, don't let them just sit in the box, you know?
The 6 scale ones are just insane, those figures. Those are not toys, let's be honest. Those are just, they're like statues that are, you know, playable statues, you know?
Yeah. So are there anything pop culture wise that we've missed? I mean, I know we've gone over Ghostbusters kind of slightly, and we've gone over Turtles. We've gone over, obviously, wrestling. Is there any, I know that you're a big Monster Squad fan. Are you a big horror guy at all, or just?
Yeah, the thing, I hate horror movies. I'm still scared of them. I don't like watching them. I don't like being scared. I love the Monster Squad. I actually got a little Monster Squad poster here, if we can show it right there.
That's great. I have that same one.
Nice.
I love Monster Squad because, like, as a kid, it was just one. You know, everyone has that kid that they get that VHS tape and they just watch it over and over and over. And for me, it was Monster Squad. That was the tape that I kept renting over and over and over, and I loved it. And it was almost like, even back then, like, not very well known. So I like that too. That it was kind of like an underground, like, cool thing to like the Monster Squad.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see Monster Squad in the theater. I remember it because my aunt, who was probably, I can't remember, like 16, 17 at the time, took me as a young boy. And, you know, there are some frightening scenes, but the one that I remember distinctively is, you know, kick him in the nards. And I remember leaving the movie theater, just repeating that over and over. My aunt being horrified that I was just yelling, like, a 7-year-old kid yelling, kick him in the nards. But that movie is cool. And when you look back at it now, you see these movies try to copy the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? You see these, and I know at one point in time, Universal tried to make their own monster cinematic universe, and it didn't work out. And I firmly believe that the Monster Squad is your Avengers of monsters. Like, they, you know, they have the Gill Man, they have the Wolf Man, they have Dracula, they have Frankenstein, they have the Mummy. Like, you're not going to get a better movie that has that Avengers style in bringing all these sacred characters together, like Monster Squad. That's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think if you watch it now, not only is like is it a great movie with a cool story, but like the monsters still look good for the time. It still holds up.
Yeah.
You go back and watch some horror movies, like, oh man, that looks cheesy or look horrible, but they look pretty damn good.
And there's so many jokes now when you watch it, you're like, oh, I didn't really realize. Yeah, you know, those things fly over your head. You know.
Sure, yeah.
You're like, and it's such a good movie, and it's almost like it's just a time capsule to the 80s. You know, it's just
exactly what it is, for sure.
Paul, any questions for my main man Matt before we get into this fun-ish workout?
Yeah, I mean, we have quite a few here. You had mentioned, that you like to collect. Matt, someone wanted to know over on YouTube, what's the most expensive figure that you've ever bought? You've personally bought?
Oh, the Michael Jordan of figures.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to spoil the story, but I think I know the answer.
The answer is it's a Hasbro wrestling figure. It's a Moon Belly Kamala. The Kamala is this wrestling star who has like face paint and paint on his like stomach and body. And the figure for some reason has a star when it's supposed to have a moon, but there are pre-production samples of the moon. So I bought that figure, oh man, for $11,000.
Oof, 11 grand. That is like a Kia, I believe.
Kamala.
2005 Kia you can get for 11 grand. I mean, that just shows how passionate you are about this stuff. I mean, look, if I had 11 grand, I'd probably spend that on a Moonbelly Kamala too.
And the worst part about it is like I didn't even want it. I needed it because I'm the Michael Jordan. So how can the Michael Jordan? I've got all these other pieces. How does the Michael Jordan not have a Moonbelly Kamala in his collection? So yeah. I really did it for all the people, all the fans. I did it for them.
Now, Michael Jordan obviously had some rivals. Is there a rival collector that you're just like, curses, this guy got X, Y, and Z?
We call him the LeBron.
Oh.
He's out there. I'm friendly with him, but he's got some deep pockets, and he has a couple pieces that I need. So it's not a competition. I've even sold him some things. I have my collection. I'm not trying to compete with anybody. When I say I'm the Michael Jordan, it's a joke. It's a gimmick. Yeah. It's to sell like T-shirts and pins. I don't think I have the best wrestling collection in the world. So it's cool to see other people's stuff, So, and I know this guy, the LeBron, we'll call him. He has some crazy, crazy stuff. And I'm going to give myself a little plug here, if you don't mind. On our YouTube channel on Friday, we're doing this whole history of the Hasbro wrestling figures on YouTube. It's like a 3-hour plus video that we filmed last week. We're editing it now. It's insane how much stuff there is to talk about for a line that only lasted like 5 years.
I was a huge fan of that. That's I think when I was little, I remember getting the LGN thumb wrestlers.
Yeah.
But the Hasbro line is what really got me into collecting wrestling toys. And then I went back, just like you, to get, some things that I didn't have before. But yeah, I remember listening to some sort of history of that on your podcast. And now that you're going to have it, in video format, that's really fun and exciting. Because I'm not saying that the people at Netflix did a horrible job. I'm just saying that I feel like there was a lot of information that they missed out on that they should have gotten. And
I'm not going to get into a little Netflix debate. They were at my house for 8 hours filming, and obviously I'm not in the episode, which is fine. My biggest fear was that they were going to use my rare stuff and like not use me. Luckily, they didn't do any of it, which is fine. But I thought, listen, the Toys and Man it's a great show, but it was how are you going to capture so many different toy lines 30 plus years in like an hour? It's going to be tough. You're going to miss out on some things.
Yeah.
So this is 3 hours of just the WWF Hasbro's, just like 90 to 95, just that line. It's like less than 100 figures, but we're holding the figures in the video. We have them in the box, out of the box, show off the rings. So I think if you were a kid in the 90s, you'll love this thing.
Yeah. Was there would you remember your first Hasbro WWE figure?
No, I remember like one of the Demolition, I think, and like Jake the Snake. I was like, some of my like childhood memories. It's like I remember being in a Toys R Us. Like I'll never forget this. It was a Toys R Us, and like they had like the shipping box was like on the floor. This is pre-internet. You didn't know when new sets were coming out, and that was the best part about being a kid. Is like there was no like internet to look up who's coming out in 6 months. You walked into a store and you saw it. And I'll never forget like opening this box and had like Bret Hart, British Bulldog, Undertaker, and Ricky Steamboat. And I was like, "What? There's new figures!" And like that was like every 6 months or so to find new figures on the shelf.
Now, were you such a psycho when you come to collect those things? Like I remember some of them had like a little SummerSlam sticker on the side, right? They were advertising some sort of summer. Do you have those collections as well? Like, I have the cards or figures in the box. Pre-SummerSlam stickers, and I got to collect the ones with the SummerSlam stickers.
You want me to go get one for you?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I believe you.
But so we actually talked about that. It's like, yes, you could have won a trip to SummerSlam. So there's like a little like, you either win or lose kind of ticket inside, and there's a little sticker that says win a trip to SummerSlam. But then afterwards, once SummerSlam ended, they just put another sticker over it, like free, like hologram card inside. But technically, someone could have won a trip to SummerSlam, but after SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like, I have some in my closet. Maybe I was going to SummerSlam 91 or 92, whatever. Who knows?
Have you ever seen McMillions, the story about the Monopoly thing? I wonder if that's what happened. Like they just gave that trip to SummerSlam to somebody else. Like, oh, this is the box.
I should look that up and see if anyone ever cashed in on that.
Yeah, see, there you go. I'm giving you an idea for your podcast. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, well, one more question. This is the question that I ask everybody, including Seth and Becky and Cesaro, and even my buddy Nate, who works at Marvel. This is the question I ask everybody before we work out, is if you were to book your own pop culture WrestleMania main event, what would it be? So, for example, you could have Hulk versus Wolverine, or you could have E.T. versus, the alien from Independence Day. You could also be involved if you want. It could be a tag team. It could be a battle royal. It could be anything that you want. What would your main event pop culture WrestleMania be?
Ooh, I think it would have to be an 8-man tag.
Okay.
Of the Ghostbusters against the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, what a great matchup.
Elimination style. And then you could have like some run-ins, maybe like, like Slimer's coming in and maybe, Splinters come. Like, imagine the run-ins, like the music pop and everyone's turning. Oh my God, it's the Marshmallow Man.
Yeah. And now, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, since you're the comic aficionado, and I think I'm correct. Isn't there a crossover Ninja Turtles Ghostbusters comic?
I know there is a lot of crossover with Batman has teamed up with the Ghostbusters, and he's also teamed up with the Ninja Turtles. I can't think of if they've ever the Ghostbusters and the TMNT's ever crossed over. I'm curious.
I think there might be. I think there might be a comic, but I'm not quite sure.
It's IDW. Yeah, it's IDW.
Oh, there sure is. Yeah. Wow.
I would suggest, Matt, I know you're not a big comic book guy, but I would suggest picking that up because from what I remember, it is pretty cool. So
yeah,
I'm gonna have to do that. You learn something every day.
Yeah, that's a great main event. And the fact that, like you said, the run-ins alone, whether it be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or, the Rat King or somebody like Casey Jones coming out of nowhere, like I think that'd be really fun to watch.
And I'm thinking about it also. I mean, you said like it's the main event. You need a good entrance. So they come out, Ghostbusters come out in the Ecto one, they come out with that, they don't just walk down, and then maybe the turtles coming down, in the big van, or maybe remember like that little the pizza shooter, like thing? Or maybe both, who knows?
The blimp didn't they have a blimp?
Oh, don't give it. My cousin Brian popped my damn blimp. I had it for like 2 days and he popped it and that was it.
Well, then that brings me to my second question, because you'll be the first person that I've ever asked this, because you would have done this. Were some of your rules as a professional wrestling figure collector and or fake federation, GM, would you have non-wrestling toys in wrestling rings? So would you, as a kid, have Ghostbusters versus Ninja Turtles, or Leonardo versus Bret Hart, or Macho Man versus, whatever?
So I wouldn't do that. But you ever see Last Action Hero?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they had figures, and the kid Danny, he kind of looked like me at the time. So I had Danny, and he was the president, but it was me.
Oh.
So he was the president of my federation, and I never brought, like, maybe I played around with it, but when it was official time, if the camera was on, Michelangelo wasn't hopping the rail and sliding in there. But I was strictly, but I did have like, guys from like WCW would come over. I remember like when I got the Dennis Rodman figure, it was like, oh my God, I can bring Rodman in, big program with Undertaker. It's great.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I brought in a lot of superheroes, but never the Ninja Turtles. But now that you said that, who knows? Maybe I'll go into the garage and pull them all out and have that.
I'm do it right now. Maybe set up some figure photography. Get it going.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. Well, today Matt's going to join us for the workout. It's going to be pretty simple. It seems simple enough, but it is going to be rough in the sense that we are going to do 3 rounds. I would normally prescribe this as 5 rounds. It's really just going to be an old-fashioned push-up contest or max effort push-ups, and then you're going to go right into max effort air squats or just squats without weight. Again, we want you to try to go as low as possible. We're going to do this for 3 rounds because nobody really wants to watch Matt and I do push-ups for 5 rounds, much less 3. But we're going to give you 3. And in between our rests, we're going to rest as needed because that's how I would write it. Paul is going to be answering, or he's going to be asking us some questions, whether they be for Matt or myself or for both of us. And during one of those rest periods, I'm going to give away the secret code so you guys can try to win that Jon Snow, excuse me, 6 scale by 3-0. Are you a big Game of Thrones fan, Matt?
I was very into it in the beginning, and then it just got too crazy for me, and I didn't know like anyone's names. I was like, "What am I doing? What am I just knew like the Dragon Lady or this lady. I didn't know anyone's names, so I just wasn't invested in the actual characters, and I had to just quit.
Yeah, I did that at the beginning of Game of Thrones. I was giving everybody nicknames, so I forget what I gave Varys and Littlefinger. They weren't Varys and Littlefinger when I was watching it. I can tell you that much. All right, I need to set up. Excuse me, your camera. I'm like I said in my family's living room. I can go whenever you're ready, and Paul gets the questions ready. Like I said,
yes, I got them.
It's going to be pretty simple.
Let's see here. What? Let's see. Can you see me here?
Perfect. I mean, I don't know if I can see you for push-ups, but I can definitely see you for air squats.
Oh well.
It'll be the trust. It'll be the trust tree. Hopefully that you'll give me the correct number. All right. So again, the way I would normally write this is 5 rounds. Matt and I are going to do for 3. The way it's going to work is we're going to go max effort push-ups. Matt will give me his response or his number of push-ups. I'll give him my response. I will be honest, I'm incredibly sore from doing Murph yesterday, so I probably won't be doing that many. Once we give each other our numbers, we're going to jump right up and do as many air squats. Once we stop for rest, that'll be the stop. All right?
I'm trying to follow. Yeah, I got it.
All right, so we're going to start off with push-ups. All right? Matt, you let me know when you're ready.
All right, I am ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and go. Full range of motion, chest to the deck, full extension at the top. I'm at 10.
13.
I'm at 20. 30. I only do 30. Matt's still going, Paul. He's putting me to shame.
Let's stop. 35.
35. All right. Cool. That one. I did 200 of them yesterday, for God's sakes, in a weight vest. All right. Max effort air squats. Matt, whenever you're ready, try to squat as low as you can.
All right. These are going to be ugly.
2, 1, go. Solid squats, Matt. I'm not even going to lie.
What's that?
Solid squats.
And for everyone asking, the giveaway and all that information will be coming up shortly. We'll be dropping the links across all of our different channels. It doesn't matter where you're watching, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, either of our Facebook channels. Joshy will be dropping that giveaway information very shortly so you all can have a chance to win the 6 scale Jon Snow by 3-0.
40. I'm at 42.
30.
42.
All right, you beat me.
All right. All right, we're going to rest as needed. You let me know when you're ready, Matt. Paul, do you have any questions for us for rest number 1?
Whew.
Paul, you got any questions for us while we're resting?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had muted myself. So y'all didn't hear me typing. For both of you, are there any pro wrestling matches that you can think of that you could watch over and over and over? Just one match.
For me, I think I could watch Hulk Hogan vs. Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 over and over again. Because like that, we talked about like this.
Yeah.
Like Ghostbusters and Turtles. To me, those were like larger than life cartoon superheroes in real life. So that match never gets old to me.
Let me back that up with a second question. What was the very first event you watched?
Yeah, I don't know that either. It's like my whole like childhood was just wrestling. So I don't remember my first ever match or my first ever action figure, but I had all the 80s like rubber LJNs. I had all like the merch, the clothes. I have pictures like as a little kid but I don't remember what my earliest memory is. My dad says that he took me to WrestleMania 2, but if you do the math, I would have been like 11 months old at the time. So I don't know if that's possible.
I remember mine. I was all my friends in elementary school loved wrestling, and I felt like I needed to catch up to figure out what everybody was so into. So I remember my dad here in Vegas took me to our local video store, and I rented SummerSlam '91. And that was, huh?
I was there.
I know we talked about that, yeah. But SummerSlam '91 is what did it for me. Great card, in my opinion.
You think of like SummerSlam '91 is just all those guys like British Bulldog, Texas Tornado, Ricky Steve, all those colorful characters. And when we're looking at the Hasbro figures, they're so toyetic, you know, as they say in the biz. These are so cool.
Yeah, I mean the match that got me was Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. Even though I even liked the main event, even though it was kind of shitty, but I still liked the main event. All right, round 2. Paul, give us some more questions after this one. We're gonna do a question contest in 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. 20.
New one.
And guys, while they're doing the push-ups, everyone out there watching, if you're a big wrestling fan, which I'm assuming you all are because you're watching this, what's the match? All of you, let us know in the comments. What match can you guys all watch over and over and over again?
All right, I got 27. What'd you get?
I got 30.
Oh, damn it. All right, air squats. Air squats.
Not competitive at all.
2, 1, go.
My knees sound like Rice Krispies right now.
So do mine. 10. 20.
Woo! Oh. I'm not warmed up.
30.
Oh, I'm going 20. Woo.
All right, stop. I'll stop.
I'm blowing up here, Josh.
I know, me too. See? You don't need a lot of equipment to have a good workout.
Woo.
All right. We'll rest when needed. We got one more round. Remember, DeadBoys Fitness would have written this for 5 rounds, but I don't want to put you guys through that. So, any questions for Matt or myself?
Yeah, this is a question over for Matt, and I'm assuming, Josh, you can answer this as well. Matt, you have an awesome merch site. It's Pro Wrestling Tees. Someone out there wanted to know, what is your favorite piece of merch that is your own merch and why?
Ooh.
Maybe Joshy can help with one of his favorites as well.
Matt's favorite? I'll let him answer first.
This right here. It's these major wrestling figure podcast figures. I don't know if you dark. What?
You can kind of see them.
Yeah, so
There they are.
we made these for our podcast. It's supposed to be 2 guys that look like Brian Myers and I with masks on, but now that we're no longer WWE, we can reveal it's us under the mask. So these are really cool. We have more of these coming. They're supposed to look like He-Man style, AWA Remco style, like 80s. They're supposed to look like almost like bootlegs, you know? So that's why I like these. And I'm very proud of creating our own figures, not only our own merch, but figures too. So I love these.
But that's such a great thing about you and your imagination, is the sense that, like, you know, even going back to the title that you see behind you, the internet title, like, you have a great imagination. And the fact that, you know, you created your own toy line, you created your own merch, you had your own YouTube channel for a while that people loved and enjoyed. Like, there are a lot of cool things that you bring to the table. And I think that comes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, by having such a huge pop culture base and knowing what people like and love, you know?
I agree 100%. It's about, like, you know, I do things that, you know, I think that the people are going to like, because I'm a fan too. I'm a collector too, you know? So I want, for the podcast, I want to make stuff that if I was listening to the podcast as a fan, what would I want to buy? You know, or, you know, if we were doing these reviews on YouTube, like, what things would I want to see reviews of. So I'm
Yeah.
also a fan, just because I'm a wrestler and in the business, sure, but I'm also a fan. I'm such a huge fan that I wanted to do this with my whole life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, even when we talked about Comic-Con last year, like you're going to Comic-Con and you're standing in the lines and you're waiting for stuff just like everybody else, which I think is really cool, you know?
Oh yeah.
You're not just getting stuff for free, even though that would be nice. Sometimes, you know, you're waiting in line just like everybody else. So it's really cool to see.
Even these particular figures, they were on this this website, and I could have, of course, said to the company, "Hey, hold me a few," but I wanted to be in the trenches with all the fans and get them when they dropped.
Well, we talked about this backstage once. I was like, "Hey, hook me up with those pins," and you were like, "Hey, go to the website." I'm not trying to be. I don't want to be. I don't want to give you, you know, special carte blanche when there are people out there that want the same things, which I totally get and I respect.
Yeah, 'cause we do everything like low quantity, so it's like I don't have a warehouse full of these. You know, there was 250 made. That's it. You know.
All right, well, let's get one more question, Paul, before we go into our third and final round.
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic segue. Someone asked earlier, and I apologize. Stephen West over on our Let Your Geek Sideshow Facebook page had asked, "What is your favorite San Diego Comic-Con memory, Matt?" And that also applies to you, Josh.
I love San Diego Comic Con. Like, love it. It's unfortunate there's not going to be one this year, but I believe it was 2 years ago. I was a part of like the Funko event, the big party they had. And I came on stage. I even made a custom proton pack that I brought out and gave to somebody. So I love Funko. I love what they're doing. So to be involved with that was pretty cool, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm still a collector too, you know. So to be on the stage, you know, I guess, quote unquote celebrity, I guess. But to me, I'm a collector doing what I love to do.
Yeah, I mean, kind of piggybacking off of what he said, like I'm obviously a huge fan. I love wrestling. I've loved wrestling my entire life. And also I'm a big He-Man Master of the Universe fan. And so last year, when my girlfriend and I went to Comic-Con, we saw the unveiling, if you want to call it that, of the He-Man / WWE line. And my brain almost exploded. So I would say that was probably one of my favorite Comic-Con moments. And the other one would be the guy that was on last week, Nate Moore, when he unveiled Black Panther, I believe it was, or one of his Marvel movies, being his friend and seeing a friend, you know, achieve that caliber of success was really, really cool. So I would say those two, the unveiling of Masters of the Universe / WWE, and one of my really, really good friends, you know, achieving incredible professional status have been by far my two favorite moments.
Nice.
All right. Well, we got a third and final round.
All right.
Which I'm not looking forward to because my legs are super sore. But that just shows you that I know nothing. And that is the secret word, know nothing, all caps, one word. That will give you up to 1,000 entries in that Gleam contest. And that will help you get a closer and closer to a chance to winning that Jon Snow 6 scale by 3-0. Again, really, really cool piece, especially if you are a big Game of Thrones fan. Maybe you want to win it and send it to Seth Rollins. Who knows? But that is your secret code. Know nothing, all caps, one word. All right, let's go into our third and final round, Matt, of push-ups and squats. My legs are about to explode. Then, Paul, we can answer some more questions, and then we can let Matt go. Oh, look at that, BB-8. See? This guy has everything. All right, here we go. Last round in 3, 2, 1. 10. 20. 26 with the matzo ball cameo.
Oh. I think I did 30.
Yeah, matzo ball, my dog jumped in there. All right. Last round of squats. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you guys all for sticking around. The link to the contest where you can actually enter that secret code word for a chance to win the 6 scale Jon Snow figure, the link will be coming at the end of the show, guys. Just so you know, because we've gotten a lot of those questions across all the platforms we're streaming on, but links coming up.
Woo! 25.
Oh, 20. Oh
All
man.
right. I think I got 30.
So
So Matt beat me at push-ups, but look at that upper body. And I beat him on squats. Put us together, the perfect athletic.
I'm winded.
See?
Woo.
Those DeadBoys fitness workouts, they're no joke. And you don't need a lot of equipment. Again, if you were to do this at home, I would really suggest 5 rounds, not 3. Trust me. That will blow you up, as you could see evidence by
Oh man.
myself.
I haven't been in the ring in like 75 days, 80 days. So I'm so blown up, blown sky high.
Well, we are very excited for when you do return to the ring. I'm sure it's going to be some really, really cool stuff. Hopefully some cool pop culture trunks in the mix as well.
You never know. I'm not going to reveal everything.
Oh, please don't.
You know, I already have my gear made up for not just one show, but multiple shows. I'm always ready. I got a lot of things up my sleeve.
Well, that's cool. Paul, do we have any questions for Matt before we let him go? We got a little bit of time left. I don't want to keep him. He said he's got to work out. He's probably got a Figure Federation main event that he's got to.
Yeah. So we've got a great one, Matt, if you don't mind, about your podcast. Someone wanted to know over on YouTube, what has been or looking back, I know you can't reveal what's coming up, but looking back, what's been your favorite episode so far and why?
Ooh, I think it would have to be this. We do live shows in front of like an audience. We've done 4 of them, and we're supposed to have a 5th one, live 5, WrestleMania week in Tampa, which obviously got canceled due to this whole pandemic. But what we did was we still filmed it and put it on YouTube. So we had the people who were supposed to be the surprise guests on the show. They're on it. They film little cameos. And, you know, we tell a story throughout, and it was just a lot of fun. And we put it up on YouTube, and we did like a live watch along with the fans. So wasn't one of our traditional episodes, but it was a lot of TLC went into it. And to see the fans' response was super cool. And we still, you know, it's a collecting website, right? So we still dropped exclusive merchandise during the show. So we had our guy come up, Zombie Sailor, and he comes like, oh, the new pins are available now. So people had to like stop watching the video and go order them. So we just love building that hype and just having fun at the same time. So that live 5 that's on YouTube is probably my favorite one.
Nice.
I gotta say, I appreciate the way that you include a cast of characters for the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I try to emulate the same things with DeadBoys by having like Cesaro being, you know, Big Swiss Tony, and, you know, we have Bex, and we have different cameos from other trainers like LG Thunder and stuff like that. So I like how you have like Stang and Brian Myers and Swoggle and all these different characters, Zombie Sailor Toys, and having him wearing a neck brace and this, that, and the other. Like, it makes it fun. There are tons of wrestling figure podcasts. There are tons of collectible shows. There are tons of workout at home regimens and all that good stuff, but making it a little bit different and making it fun for people to not only do these things or collect these things, but enjoy watching them. I'm a huge fan of that. And the fact that you take it to the next level, I gotta say, I admire that a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. That's something I was doing on my old YouTube show too, like bringing in like my real friends as characters or my dad as a character, you know, because the one person show gets old quick, you know, or two people for the Major Wrestling podcast. So we you know, slowly we try some characters. Some work, some don't. If it doesn't work, they're gone, you know, and nothing against them, but some things stick in life and pop culture. Some things take off and some things don't. Or something that you think, like for instance, last year we had this huge we have this alter ego called Stomp in Paradise, where we're like these like military police like on the beach, and we filmed some videos, and that's what these action figures are. But last year, like, oh, Stomp in Paradise is so big, let's make like beach balls and water guns, blah blah. Like, it took a long time for it to sell out. Usually our stuff sells out like that. We were sitting off of beach balls for a while. You know? Some things just don't work. You know, in your head, you're like, oh, I want everyone to have the Stomp in Paradise beach ball, but not everyone wanted it.
Yeah.
So not everything's going to be a home run. But I figure if you get on first, that get a couple of those, and we'll be golden.
Nice. A couple more questions, Paul. We still got 5 minutes. A couple more questions.
Awesome. Yeah, so someone, Matt, noticed earlier, and Josh, I'd love to hear your answer on this too, as long as many times as we've done this show. I don't know if you've ever answered this, but you had mentioned earlier you don't really collect 6 scale figures as much, but someone asked earlier over on Facebook, if Sideshow were to make a 6 scale figure of a wrestler of your choosing, which wrestler would it be, and which accessories would be essential?
So I have a couple 6 scales. They're so nice, and I like them. They're like almost like the cherry on top of my collection. You know what I'm saying? So like I'll have a Star Wars collection, and then I have the 6 scale Han Solo. You know what I'm saying? Or I have like a Back to the Future collection, and then the Marty McFly. But if they were gonna make a wrestling, I think I would have to go with Macho Man Randy Savage for sure. And I think they could do like the old school 80s, like the cape they used to wear, maybe sunglasses removable headband, you know, all the different hands, you know. I think that would be perfect.
I'm going to piggyback off of him because obviously Matt knows my love for Macho Man, except I'm going to go different era. I'm going to say Macho King with the color, like, I think Mattel even made a figure of him, but it was like the hyper color, like yellow, green, and red, or green and pink tights. He had the scepter. He had the king crown.
Right.
Which, by the way, you would probably know the answer to this. Does the archive person have that actual crown, or has that crown been misplaced?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, actually. I don't know. Someone online sells some cool replicas, like prop replicas. Not official, obviously, but they still look pretty damn cool. I've been tempted to buy it before.
Yeah, I think that one would be really cool. Maybe another one would maybe be Jake the Snake, just because of the snake. But I can't think of a lot of. I will agree with Matt when it comes to collecting, in the sense that, like, with 6 scale, there is no stopping because there's so many. Like right now, I'm like, oh man, I already have all the Avengers Infinity War, but I still have Endgame that's coming out, and now I have to get all these figures again. But now it's the second movie, so there is no stopping when it comes to 6 scale, unless you want to stop. So it makes it very, very difficult. I have some, but not a lot, and that's the whole reason why, because I know once I get in my head, there is no stopping, and therefore there will be no room, and then therefore I'm going to have a storage unit of stuff when I would rather display. So that's your answer.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I think we had this question come up a couple times, Matt. I wanted to save it towards the end there. Someone had asked, of all the belts behind you there, which is your favorite? I know it's like asking to pick your favorite child, as Joshy likes to say. But
I'm very, very fortunate to have a pretty good run. WWE won some titles, but the one Josh you mentioned before, this internet title, that's my favorite one, because to me that's the most real on here. You know, it's something I created, and it was super cool for me because I never came out with that title on WWE programming. I wasn't allowed to, but the Mattel figure has it. It's in the video game. There's a shirt, WWE shirt, where like the Statue of Liberty's holding it. So it's really cool that it was incorporated in so many different Zack Ryder products, but I never actually wore it on television, just in my YouTube show that I was filming in my apartment. So to me, that's a success and a win, and I'm very proud of that title. And you know, there might be an updated version coming out soon. I don't know, maybe, possibly, it's possible. Don't want to spoil anything, but it might be in the works. I might have approved the plates today, maybe, but.
Well, how would one be able to see that if that was true or exists at some point? Would they have to follow your Instagram or your Twitter?
I mean, that would be a big reveal on Instagram and Twitter at the Matt Cardona. But Joshy, I can send it to you if you promise to send it to anybody. Get a little sneak peek.
Oh yeah, I would love to. Yes, please. I thought it was going to be the Intercontinental title, only because you won it at WrestleMania in a ladder match and your dad was there. But I like that answer.
I mean, yeah, that one a super great moment as well. My dad slides in the ring, legit, not part of a storyline, not in a script, hops the guardrail, slides in, celebrates with me. So that is super duper cool. I think I like that night, the whole night as a package. Like the fact that I won a title is great, but I think it's everything that went into that night. My dad sliding in, that whole moment to me is more important than the actual championship.
Well, I will say I was sitting ringside with my middle brother, who grew up with me watching wrestling events and going to wrestling events. And to me, that was a cool moment to see live. Even so cool that it outbeat my WrestleMania 9, which is when Hogan ruined my childhood by winning at the very end. So thank you for redeeming all my WrestleMania moments by having that one. That was a really cool one.
I love that at WrestleMania now when Hogan makes a save.
Oh, don't get me started. I remember leaving and my parents were like, what was wrong? And I'm like, as a 13-year-old or however old I was, just angry. Hogan ruins everything. All right, Paul. Any more questions, or is that it for my main man, Matt?
I think we'll let Matt get on with his day. We have endless amounts of questions I'm sure people could ask, but these have been great.
Well, again, make sure you follow Matt on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast on Instagram, Twitter. Paul is going to be dropping all those links. Make sure you go to his Pro Wrestling Tees website. Again, Paul is going to drop all those links into the chat. And again, thank you so much for joining us, Matt. That was actually really, really fun. I know that, we got to talk a lot of nerdy stuff. We got to work out a little bit, and you've been a really, really fun guest. I'm glad some of our backstage conversations were able to be out for all of us to nerd out over. So I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll get to Disney World sooner than later.
Yeah, let me know. I appreciate the chat, the little workout. Maybe I'll ask you for some fitness advice. Maybe not a CrossFit thing. Maybe something more Matt Cardona style. Maybe a little custom one. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, anytime. Look, I'll just put it this way. Anytime someone signs with Joshy G in my stable, they end up becoming a champion. They don't necessarily have to become WWE champions, different wrestling federations. So I'm just saying,
Right.
The sooner you do it, the faster your career will skyrocket. I'm like Or if you need a sleazy Hollywood wrestling manager for wherever you go, and you need me to throw salt in somebody's eye or backstab, you let me know, my friend. I'm at your disposal.
Hell yeah.
For those of you looking to win, don't forget to head over to the Gleam link to enter. Head to side.show/WinJohn and use that code for 1,000 entry. Of course, the Gleam contest ends tonight at midnight. And if you're interested in other giveaways, we have Collect a Day May going on right now, where we challenge you to show off your collectibles each day to win a fabulous prize. And today is Favorite Fandom Day. Matt, you can join, meaning we want to see one of your favorite collectibles to win Stan Lee Double XL by Tasha. Hopefully I said that right. Paul will drop the link into that real quick, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the Comics Hall with Paul. So, Paul, thank you so much again for moderating. You're the man.
Well, thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. Don't forget to let them breathe. And most importantly, don't forget to let your geek side show. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye, everyone. Banter, banter, banter.
Bantering up.